Hello, folks. Welcome to Kudlow. I'm Larry Kudlow. Well, we have an all-star lineup ahead to weigh in on last night's VP debate, including House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, our very own Harris Faulkner, Vivek Ramaswamy, and more. But first up, with grace, style, and relentless messaging, J.D. Vance clobbered Tim Walz in last night's vice presidential debate, and that's the subject of the riff. So, as I said, J.D. Vance clobbered Governor Tim Walz last night in the vice presidential debate. Mr. Vance had grace, style, humility, relentless messaging, even a religious grounding. And he showed how to make crucial policy issues easy to understand for the average viewer. Vance was so good that I think it's quite possible he moved the needle for the Trump team. Now, maybe that's unusual for a vice presidential debate, but I suspect Vance's clarity and repetition just might do it. With 34 days to go before the election, it's clear the economy and the borderless illegal immigration problem are the two issues that will decide this election. So, think about this. Mr. Vance, on 11 separate occasions during the debate, talked about high take-home pay and low inflation during the Trump years. 11 times. Take-home pay. That was Ronald Reagan's easy-to-understand phrase aimed at average working-class families. What real money is left in your wallet or pocketbook after taxes and inflation. Everybody gets it. Vance said this key point 11 times. Take a listen to one of them.
I think you got a tough job here because you've got to play whack-a-mole. You've got to pretend that Donald Trump didn't deliver rising take-home pay, which of course he did. You've got to pretend that Donald Trump didn't deliver lower inflation, which of course he did. And then you've simultaneously got to defend Kamala Harris's atrocious economic record, which has made gas, groceries, and housing unaffordable for American citizens. We can get back to an America that's affordable again. We just got to get back to common sense economic principles.
Wow. Wow, that's all I'll say. You know, simplicity is the most elegant form of messaging, and repetition is crucial in politics. Meanwhile, Governor Tim Walz tying himself up in knots, desperately trying to remember all the things his team crammed into his head. Much of the time, he just fell back on a lot of meaningless word salads. He even bungled the abortion law from his own state. There's a new Minnesota law that allows abortion at any stage in a pregnancy if a doctor approves. J.D. Vance actually tried to help Mr. Walz to understand his own state's law, but it didn't work. But there's more. Vance reminded people of the Biden-Harris affordability crisis. Everyone has suffered because consumer prices have risen much faster than typical working-class wages during the Biden-Harris term. Now, during the Trump years, real average weekly wages were up 9%. During the Harris years, real average weekly wages fell over 4%. Under Mr. Trump, median family income rose roughly $6,000, nearly 5 times the paltry $1,300 gain under Mr. Biden. That's the affordability crisis, and people know it. Personal borrowing costs, by the way, mortgages, cars, credit cards, all those rates skyrocketed, even though they're not even part of the CPI. This is a huge kitchen table issue. Affordability, a crisis. And Vance mentioned this 6 times during the debate. Now, every time Tim Walz started throwing out some complicated big government spending plan, J.D. Vance would gracefully acknowledge there might be something good someplace in one of those plans. But they had over 3.5 years to do it. That was Vance's real message. Why didn't they do it? Including immigration. Vance mentioned illegal immigration 15 times. Walz supported a Senate bill that would have allowed millions of illegals, millions, to continue to come over the border. Illegal immigration and crime. Nothing hard to understand there. Vance made it easy, and he was polite, and he occasionally agreed on something with Governor Walz, but he would remind that day one of any Harris idea was 1,400 days ago. And this went along with the 7 times he mentioned 3.5 years. All this is so effective. Just a few key points repeated a number of times with good humor and friendliness. And anyone could see that Mr. Vance is a very smart young man who knows a lot about all kinds of policies as he ran circles around Governor Walz. Take a listen to Mr. Vance's closing statement.
We have the greatest country, the most beautiful country, the most incredible people anywhere in the world. But they're not going to be able to achieve their full dreams with the broken leadership that we have in Washington. They're not going to be able to live their American dream if we do the same thing that we've been doing for the last 3.5 years.
Pretty good, I'd say. Pretty good. Of course, he won the debate. And for those of us who watched it, I'm pretty sure we saw presidential timber. And that's the riff.